It's only been months after Bashar al-Assad was overthrown, and Syria is already in a full-fledged civil war. Not only is Syria in a civil war, but it already looks like President al-Shara has already chosen sides. And of course, that side is against the religious minorities of Syria. The Israeli-backed Druze have been in an all-out conflict with the Bedouins. Now, at the moment, no one actually knows what started this conflict, but let's simplify the matter for you and explain that the Bedouins primarily identify as Muslims, and the Druze are their own religion, but usually side with Israel. They've been backed by Israel, and many Druze even have dual citizenship in Israel because of their ties to Golan Heights. Now, many people warned in advance that if Assad was overthrown, the gentle balance of maintaining peace between the ethnic and religious minorities in Syria would be broken. And it appears that's exactly what happened. And instead of using Syrian forces to bring peace to the region, Jolani, aka al-Shara, sent the HTS, and they took the side of the Bedouins and started to attack Druze. In other words, HTS went after the religious minorities. The same HTS that takes its orders from al-Shara, the same guy who replaced Assad. Assad, the very president they accuse of persecuting religious minorities. Now, the situation is even more confusing because al-Shara has basically been Israel's little puppet since taking over Syria. But he's attacking the Druze knowing it would piss Israel off. Israel is so pissed at the actions of al-Shara and HTS that their minister of diaspora came out and said that Shara must be eliminated right now after hearing the news of how HTS went after the Druze. Oh my God, Israel, you're surprised that your asset that used to be the leader of a literal terrorist organization isn't reliable and stabbed you in the back the first chance he got? I can't believe it. Who could have saw this coming? Congrats, Western imperialists, because y'all have brought about the very problems that you claimed you guys had to get Assad out of power in order to prevent, even though now they're trying to deflect blame. The U.S. envoy Tom Barak actually said that the United States isn't in the regime change business and had absolutely nothing to do with Syria being overthrown and then the subsequent placement of al-Shara as president.
We're not in the regime change business. This president is not into nation building, and we had nothing to do with that in Syria. We had nothing to do with the Assad regime. Everybody should point to Putin, who is under pressure, and thank him for whisking Assad away at the moment. And who took advantage of that moment is al-Shara.
Despite all of the sanctions the United States had on Syria and then suddenly lifted the moment al-Shara took over, despite him committing all the crimes they accused Assad of committing. Despite the fact that Trump moved to remove the HTS from the terrorist list. Despite the fact that United States troops have been in Syria doing God knows what for at least the last decade, and the result of that illegal occupation seemed to be al-Shara becoming president. But sure, Shara becoming president after US troops set foot in Syria and Turkish troops and Al-Qaeda and ISIS showing up had nothing to do with the West. It was just a popular uprising. I guess I'd say the same thing too if I helped to create a Libya 2.0, despite everyone knowing it would happen and ignoring all of those warnings. And the fact that all of this is happening right after Trump lifted sanctions on Syria makes this even more ironic. So considering this isn't the first instance of al-Shara and HTS persecuting religious minorities in Syria since he's taken over, let's see if the West and the United States specifically is going to keep that same energy with al-Shara that they had with Assad. Are y'all going to call him a brutal dictator every day of the week that ends in Y like y'all did with Assad? Are y'all going to put crippling sanctions on Syria again like you did with Assad? Are y'all going to commence an illegal occupation in Syria and say that it's to stop terrorist organizations like you did with Assad when we knew the ultimate goal was ultimately to overthrow Assad? Spoiler alert, the answer is probably no. They're not going to keep that same energy because the goal was always destabilization. And this civil war, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what the West wants.